Many South Africans are unaware of China's role that it plays in South Africa. We don't actually know the deals that South Africa is making with China, the effects it has on our economy, and we are completely unaware of the partnership we actually have with China. So here's what you don't know about China's role in South Africa. So China essentially is South Africa's biggest trading partner, and China sees South Africa as a gateway to Africa, because in the late, I think, 2010s, China begins giving loans to African countries because African countries couldn't get money from Europe and America and UK because they know that they couldn't pay back the loans. They are poor developing African countries, but China doesn't really care about the economic status of these African countries. China will hand out these loans to build railways, infrastructure, trade, ports, even the sectors, economic sectors in African countries. So what China has implemented in these African countries is a debt trap diplomacy or policy, whatever you'd like to call it. So in essence, these African countries take massive loans. In return, China has to put interests on these African countries. These African countries have to pay back China, and that's where the problem comes. Then Chinese workers start working in those African countries. They take the jobs of those African people, and secretly China controls these countries. They tighten their grip on these countries, and there's nothing these African countries can do because they signed the deals with China and they have to pay for the consequences. So South Africa has a trade deficit with China. What that means is we are importing more than we are exporting with China. South Africa is selling raw materials to China, coal, oil, minerals, fruits, while China is exporting manufactured goods to South Africa. South Africa is importing goods from China like clothes, cell phones, computers, toys, shoes, manufactured goods, products. What this does to the South African economy is it weakens the rand, because China is actually benefiting from these trade partnerships. And the South African government is fine with that, as long as the South African government gets money for themselves. They don't really care about the weakened rand, the economy, as long as it's in their special interests. So that's a massive problem that we are facing in South Africa right now. The government doesn't care about its people. What this trade deficit does is it destroys our economy, our marketplace. People lose their jobs. Local businesses get closed. I mean, just think about it. If we are importing clothes, textiles from China, what does that say about our textile industry in South Africa? People can't make clothes in South Africa because we're getting them from China. So then we have to compete with high prices from China. That just drives up the sales of our local production. So people are losing their jobs, high unemployment, and then crime. So we don't really know what is actually happening in these partnerships, these deals, where the people at the top benefit, not the public or the country. China is implementing its soft power diplomacy in African countries and in South Africa. What soft power means is basically the secret control, the silent control of another country through its diplomacy. China gives us loans. We have deals with China. Soft diplomacy is basically a means for China to exert its global power silently over these developing nations. We see it in our media. We see it in our trade. We see it in the products we buy. We even see it in our schools. Kids are learning Mandarin. And journalists in universities are being trained in China. We have exchange students. We have students coming from China. I remember seeing Chinese high school students when I was in high school. So China's soft power is very secret and controlling, and yet it doesn't exert force on our country, but it's a slow decaying disease that is brought upon our country. And let's be honest, the government let this happen. So what can we do about this as South Africans? I'm not saying China's the villain. It's just that we are letting them control us. We are letting them exert their power on us. We need to be aware. We need to know what's going on, stay informed, and be intentional on what we buy, because we need to support local businesses, create jobs, let South Africans run the country. So the one message I can give to you is be aware and share this video. It starts with awareness.